Hello, everyone. Thanks for watching this video, which actually is the first of a new series that we've been thinking about during these unsettling times, for the lack of a better word, with the virus. And this video, the objective is really to give you insights and to have you witness firsthand how inspiring some of our storytellers, or all of our storytellers, are. And today, actually, we're very happy to introduce Jean-Jacques. And Jean-Jacques is presenting the Opéra Garnier experience, and we'll talk more about that experience. But just a few words before I ask my first questions to Jean-Jacques, a few words about Jean-Jacques' background. Jean-Jacques, and thank you for joining us today. Jean-Jacques, you studied tourism, you studied modern language. You actually started at the library at the Opéra National at Paris, subtitling operas. And then at the same time, you became a conférencier. So in what we call at Secret Journeys, a storyteller, but one of the few storytellers allowing guests to go back in the backstage and discover, in French we say, les coulisses of this amazing, exquisite landmark. Actually, you call this landmark a myth, and we will want to hear more about how you describe and you define the Opéra Garnier. You've actually been, I don't think there's anyone that knows the Opéra Garnier as much as you do and loves it as much as you do. In an article that we wrote for the Gazette, our news section, you actually mentioned that when you started working at the library, started your passion for this landmark and also for performances, and you saw many performances. So we're very happy to ask you a few questions and to dive into your story. And maybe just to start off, Jean-Jacques, can you tell us about your personal link with the Opéra National through your career, and also what it means for you to bring guests into this myth, as you call it, into the backstage areas? So we'd love to hear about that.
So it means a lot to me to bring people to get to know the Opéra Garnier. I'm really happy at the end of the visit when people tell me, well, I've never been here for a show, I've never been here for a performance, what do you recommend? And then I see these people, they go to the box office and they buy a ticket for a performance, so they're going to experience for the first time a show. And I noticed many times that many people are afraid of the opera because they think it's not for them, and they think it's a world they cannot have access to. And I told them, well, it's just, it's like a rock concert, many people go to the Stade de France to experience rock stars. And when they see for instance, the prizes at the Opéra National de Paris, which is, partially financed by the state, then they understand it's something they can afford. And I'm really happy to attract people to the opera. And I was right from my childhood, I was attracted by what we call classical music. And when I was about 11 years old, which is not that early to learn an instrument, a music instrument, I started with the piano. So my link to music is very strong.
And actually, the link, we can see the link with music behind you. Can you just tell us about what we can see? We have a glimpse of an amazing instrument.
Well, this is a harpsichord. It started about 14 years ago. I used to play the piano, but I've always been fascinated by the harpsichord music, Baroque music. I know many pianists don't like harpsichord because they think it's a kind of reduced piano with only 4 or 5 octaves, but it's another world, it's another universe, it's different. You cannot compare harpsichord with the piano. These are other composers. It's another music, and now I have to confess I mostly play the harpsichord more than the piano.
There are many stories within the larger stories of the landmark and the myth.
Yes.
One story people refer to is that water tank that inspired the Phantom of the Opera. Recently, we shared a story on our social medias on this vault that was discovered, or actually in a vault underneath the Opéra Garnier. Some opera songs were put there for 100 years. There's so many of them that you share with guests during the performance, the experience. What is the one or maybe two amazing stories that you like to transmit and to share with guests?
There are many funny anecdotes, either short stories or long stories about this opera. There are also myths or legends. Of course, the most famous of them is the Phantom of the Opera. And when I guide, when I tour at the opera with especially American groups or German groups, I know the musical is very famous in the United States, in Great Britain, in Germany, in Asia too. But you don't forget that it's a legend. It's a novel written by Gaston Leroux. And the musical is not that famous in France. We mostly know the novel, okay, the book. Now, what I like, the story I like the most is the story with in the case, which is not a legend this time, but a real story with all the recordings that were buried in a kind of in the cellar, in a small room in 1907, including urne. There were about five containers, vacuum containers, and they buried records because they thought in 100 years, which means in 2007, the administrator, the director of the opera, will reopen these boxes so that people during the 21st century know about our interpretation, about our voices, and they will earn that. And they also buried a gramophone so that people could play the records. You know, these were long long players, the big ones, the big records. And they also buried a notice so that you know how to use the gramophone. And they also buried other recordings in 1912. Okay, so the story is very interesting, and they reopened these boxes, these containers in 2007 at the opera, and EMI was there in the Palais Garnier. And they decided to make a CD out of I think there are 3 CDs in this box, and it's called in French les voix, I think les entrailles de l'opéra or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Jean-Jacques, for these amazing stories. A last question was, what would be an area inside the Opéra Garnier if you had the power to teleport yourself, like right now, if you snap your fingers?
It's difficult to say. Perhaps I would choose the Emperor box. Mm-hmm. The Emperor box, because it's a seat I quite like. It's not the best seat for the show, for the performance, but I like it because you can both see the musicians in the orchestra pit right below you. Mm-hmm. Because the particular thing in the Opéra Garnier is that both imperial boxes, the Empress box, the Emperor box, are right above the orchestra pit, close to the stage. And you can see the public, and then you can see actors, and sometimes you can even see dancers or actors preparing in the backstage, on the side of the stage. So this is an area. It's very cozy. You are surrounded, like in all the boxes, with silk, velvet, red, this red bordeaux color. It's very, I think of course the auditorium itself is very glamorous at the Opéra Garnier with all the gilding. So this is a seat or a room I really like. And I also really like being in the foyer de la danse because it's more intimate, so backstage, where I sometimes tour the secret journey groups. And it's really nice because you can see dancers rehearsing, sometimes rehearsing a pas de deux, or a teacher giving a lesson to a young pupil, a young dancer, a young ballerina. So and the foyer de la danse backstage is full of stories. You know, these subscribers who could reach this area and meet ballerinas during the intermissions and after the show. So it's another area full of stories. There's another area. There are other areas I like. It's being on the rooftops when it's sunny, and then have a very nice view on Paris, with all the sightseeing, all the monuments of Paris, and it's really nice.
I've actually been on the rooftops with you, Jean-Jacques, and I do agree that it's spectacular to have the 360-degree view on Paris. You must have superpowers, Jean-Jacques, because I was just asking about one place, but you've actually teletransported yourself into 3 areas of the Palais Garnier. Anyway, thank you, Jean-Jacques, and thank you for everyone for watching until the very end.
Thank you, Philippe. Au revoir.
Au revoir.